Hey, this is Ryan Ferrier, writer of IDW's Dave 2 and the upcoming Hot Damn. You're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Come with me if you want to live.
Hello and welcome to the Pullbag's first interview in 2016. I am your JOBSDAMN host, TFG1Mike, and oh, for the love of WOZ, joining me is BeatlesDiva. Hello.
Aloha.
No one's going to know what that means, folks, unless you've listened to episode 126 and 127, which was our Dave and Dave 2 reviews. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming Dave writer Ryan Ferrier. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Right on.
Before we get started, can you give us the scoop on what is going on in the world of Ryan Ferrier? Any upcoming hot button comic news you care to reveal?
Yeah, actually, next week, February 3rd, is the release date of Kennel Block Blues #1, which is my new Critter on series coming from Boom, and that's with Daniel Bayliss on art, Adam Metcalf on colors, and Colin Bell doing lettering, and that's something that's been in the works for a long time, and we're really jazzed about it. So it's
What is that series about?
it's kind of unlike anything I've ever done before. It's a prison book, but it's all starring animals, and so it kind of follows this new inmate as he goes into prison, and as such, he has a difficult time coping with his new environment and just his life in general. He ends up hallucinating these kind of cartoon musical
Oh my gosh, I am sold.
things. So
I was going to say, it sounds like it's right up your alley, Nicole.
it blends a bunch of different styles, and it gets really, really crazy, and it's super fun, and it's really emotional, and there's lots of heart and excitement, and it's kind of difficult to explain, but I mean it's just like Daniel's artwork is just beautiful, and that's exciting. And then we've got Hot Damn starting up at IDW. It's a 5-issue mini with that's done solely by me and Valentine Ramon, the artist for Dave.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, it's going to be really crazy. Actually, I just got final pages in this morning for the first issue, and it's going to be absolutely bonkers. I can't believe they're letting us actually publish this.
So when does this come out?
That starts, I believe, early April, and that's
Cool.
5 issues. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. This is gonna be so much fun. The cover alone, the little promo cover of the ghost. I love it.
I was super jazzed that, like, so far it's been really interesting with IDW in that everything I've sent over, like, in terms of like promo, because for the most part I get to kind of do the design work for the promos and announcements and stuff like that, and I kind of like aim way too high, like, and I'll send something over and be like, can we do this, kind of assuming that they're gonna be like, nah, but they're always like super excited about it, and I can't believe, like, when they announced Dave 2, I sent over the ad that just said like something but fart sound, like it was just really like and I left it in there as placeholder text, and I just sent it over and I was like, look, this is what I'm thinking for the design, and I'll put some copy in afterwards, and they were like, no, let's do this, that's hilarious. And it was the same with Hot Damn. I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of, maybe there's a chance they won't let me put this satanic goat's head as like the lead announcement teaser, but no, they're cool with it, which is fun. I mean, I'm lucky.
You know, when I first saw that, the first thing I thought of, and I don't know why, is the Adam Sandler "The Goat" skit. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that that announcement image.
That's old school.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
is old school.
Hey, go out for a pass.
Yeah, go out there. With the football, you're gonna throw it. It's a little too big, you know. The football. If you guys had a tennis ball, I could see, but I gotta catch it with my mouth. You know, I don't got no fingers like you guys. So, a football that could cause some damage. But what else?
I remember, I think it was like, was it the day after or the night of? I don't know. When the announcement was first made, whenever Comics Alliance first put up the article about Hot Damn, I instantly messaged Nicole and I said, "Oh my God, we might have to do this issue by issue."
Right.
I mean, because it looks really, really cool.
It looks a lot of fun.
We're going to ask you about some info on that later, so we'll save that. Going back to the beginning, where did you grow up, and had you always wanted to get into writing and writing for comics specifically?
I grew up here in Calgary, Alberta. It's in Canada. I've always been here for the most part. And I didn't always want to do comics. I've always read comics. Like I was reading comics before I could even read. But I very distinctly remember my mom used to buy me those like grab bags that you used to get at like the gas stations or like Circle K. Like it was just a bag with like random like Marvel, DC, and like some other weird stuff that I can't really remember right now. But yeah, I've always been reading comics. But I mean, fast forward to a few decades later, I always knew I wanted to do something creative. So I mean, I trained in animation at one point, and I wanted to be an animator. And then I got trained in graphic design. I did that for like 12 years. So, but there was some overlap with that, in that I really took to, when I was going to animation school, I took more to the script portion of the program, and so I started writing then, and I kind of haven't really stopped writing for a fleeting few years. I even did film reviews and stuff like that. Like I tried my hand at like film blogging, which is a thing now, but I gave that all up, and comics became my focus in like 2007. And then I've been pouring most of my time into comics since then.
That's
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dave started off at Monkey Brain, and went on to IDW. What was the transition like, and who approached who? Did you approach IDW, or did they approach you, or?
Well, when Valentine and I first did it, I mean, we pitched it around for a while. We pitched it from the time we started working on it to the time it actually started coming out through Monkey Brain, it was almost 2 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of, and that's the thing with pitching, like it can take forever sometimes, and no one really, wanted to give it a chance, I don't think, or there's so many different reasons that go into a pitch getting accepted or rejected beyond just, oh, we don't like it. So I mean, there was a lot of different factors that kind of took it towards Monkey Brain. And at the time I'm a comic letterer too. I do a whole bunch of lettering. Still, it's something I really enjoy. But I was lettering a couple Monkey Brain books at the time. I was doing like Theremin with Kurt Piers and Dalton, and what else? Skybreaker was the one. Anyways, so like I just happened to bring it up to Chris Roberson and Allison Baker, who run Monkey Brain, and I just said, look, I've got this book, and I want to see if you guys are interested in it, because we want to find a home for it. And they immediately took to it and said, yeah, we love it, and we'll do it. So we did it through Monkey Brain, and that took, I mean, it was 5 issues, and it was about 5 to 6 weeks in between issues. So it's a slightly different schedule than like, the monthly comics game, but yeah, it did great. So when the time came to put out the trade, the collection, we kind of pitched it around a little bit to a couple other places, but we really, like, IDW was really supportive, and they really wanted it, and we knew that it would be taken care of, and it actually went from just jumping right from Monkey Brain to the trade to the point where IDW was like, no, we want to re-release this like in singles, monthly, in print, and then do the trade. Yeah, great. So it actually did. Yeah, it did a 5-month singles run too. So I mean, that was amazing. Like I can't imagine any other publisher that would want to do that. Most would probably just be like, yeah, let's put the trade out, at best. So IDW just loved it, and they supported it, and we got a whole new audience just from that monthly print run, and then a whole new audience from the trades. So that was awesome. Like, it's literally the most ideal situation that you can imagine with getting picked up somewhere.
It sounds like IDW treats their independent creators very well, and I like to hear that. So.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because IDW, they're most well known for their licensed stuff, which is great, and uh, it's been nothing but awesome, for me, and they don't put out a lot of creator owned, but I think they're changing that. I think the whole landscape of comics is changing, so it's cool to see a company that's really really branching out and trying to do really awesome things. And I mean, if only just for me and my livelihood and stuff like that. I mean, it's been great. So kudos to them for letting us put out Dave, which although like people seem to really dig it, like I understand if it's a hard thing for a company to want to sell, because it's kind of weird, and you can't really just say it's a robot book and an alien book. Like it's got all this weird kind of almost.
You just sold me robots and aliens. Yeah, that sells.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that people always say
she's pretty cheap.
They're always like, I picked up Dave expecting this, this like sci-fi robot alien fight book, and it's completely the opposite. It almost doesn't feel like a robot book, which is kind of what we were aiming for. But yeah, that's kind of the road of Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to. I tried an experiment last year with the podcast where I would take various people, Nicole included. Nicole and I did the IDW solicits, but I would take myself and 2 or 3 or 4 other people, and we would each have 4 or 5 different sections of the show, and we would read off what's being released in that month, and we called it profiling previews. And I forget which month it was last year, but when IDW had the solicits for Dave, I was like, oh my God, we need to read this now. We need to cover this now.
I think I'm the one that recommended it. I think I actually said the same thing. It's robot aliens.
Yeah, I did. Well, when I read the solicit, I'm like, oh my God, it's what if robots were actually human, or what if it was just, oh my God, it was just so great. And last year, a whole bunch of stuff happened, and we just couldn't get to it. And I'm like, we need to get to this before the end of 2016. We need to charge through this, read it, get the shows up, and get it done. And man, it is probably the best 9 issues of comics I've ever read.
Wow,
it's good stuff. It's good.
Thank you so much. That's incredibly kind of you. Thank you.
We're going to get into some more Dave stuff here in a bit. When it comes to reading comics, because everybody wants to know this usually.
Yeah.
DC, Marvel, neither, or another comic company?
I tend to lean more towards creator-owned stuff.
So Image.
Yeah, I like everything that like Dark Horse is putting out great stuff. Black Mask is putting out really great stuff. Image obviously is putting out great stuff. So I mean, I do dabble in a little bit of everything. I read some Marvel, I read some DC. So I'm kind of, if the story's good, then I'll read it. I don't have. There seems to be sometimes there's like, no, I only read creator owned, or I only read the big 2. But I'll just read anything. I like everything. I mean, I've done most of my work as creator owned, and I'm really, that's what makes me passionate about what other people are doing right now. But at the same time, I grew up reading Marvel, DC. I love it, so I'm all over the place.
Well, see, that was going into my next question. So which comics did you actually read growing up? Do you remember? And what specific titles do you enjoy today?
I read, while I'm answering that, I'm going to pull up my Comixology account.
Comixology is amazing.
I'm really behind too, and I'm also super broke right now, so I haven't been able to catch up on the books. But what I read as a kid, the very first comic I got, and I still have it, it's framed right next to my desk, is Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7.
Nice.
And that was in that grab bag that my mom gave me. And that's the first thing I pulled out. It was the first comic book I ever owned. I opened up the bag, and it had like a thing so you couldn't see what's on the front. And there's 5 comics in there. And I pulled this one issue out from the middle, and it was it's that cover, right, with Superman holding the dead Supergirl.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was just like, what? Because I knew what Superman was, but I never read a Superman comic. So I was just like, what? Supergirl's dead? And they're showing it on the cover. Like, it just blew my mind, and I was hooked. I still got it right here. I read a lot
That's an
of...
awesome cover.
Yeah, it's one of the best ever. Yeah, it's also one of the
Uh-huh.
most
Iconic,
uh,
that's for sure.
yeah, and like people have redone that cover. Like, I got a gift a few years ago from a great friend, and I got an X-Men issue, and it's like Cyclops holding Jean Grey in the exact same position. Like, obviously, it's like they're riffing on that cover. But I also started reading a lot of like cartoon strips when I was a kid. All my family's Scottish, so they used to send me like all these weird British cartoons and like comic books. So that was kind of before I really dove into like American or North American comics. It was like a lot of British cartoon stuff. And then I read like Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I loved Superman. I loved X-Men. X-Men kind of scared me as a kid. Like when I was a little kid, like the first X-Men book I got was one of the Executioner's Song issues, and like I remember just reading it, like Archangel like chops a dude's head off with his wings, and like there's blood everywhere, and I was just like, what? Like hide it under the bed kind of thing. I also liked Punisher a lot, which is weird. I was a kid that really liked horror movies and like things that I maybe like, oh, it's bad if I read this, so I'm gonna read it kind of thing.
But Punisher didn't scare you?
No,
That
it
kind
was
of a violent
violent.
comic.
Yeah, and I read like uh, Ninja Turtles and stuff like kid stuff
Ninja
that
Turtles
grown
is
ups still
awesome.
read today. Yeah,
The Mirage Turtles were not kids stuff.
that's true. That's true. As what I'm reading right now, I'm just skimming through here because I'm gonna forget everything, and I might be a couple months behind. I really like Limbo from Image. That's fantastic. Prez is probably my favorite book of last year. That DC book. Did you guys ever read Prez?
I didn't.
Oh my god.
I heard good things about it though.
Oh, if you like Dave, you will love Prez. It's amazing. It's so good, and it's not like DC continuity. Like there's no superhero stuff in it, which is kind of weird. Like it almost feels like an Image book. It's amazing, fantastic. Yeah, like I'm not. I'll read pretty much anything. Like nothing's really. And I feel terrible because I always blank when people ask me, so I'm just kind of like.
It's all good. I like to people ask me, well, what do you recommend? And it's like, okay, I got so many good comics. You know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, where do you start? With deadlines and all that they entail, how much time do you actually have to read comics? Now, you said you're a few months behind, so obviously you don't get much time to read.
Yeah, it's typically I'll go to bed. Like I'll actually like get up from my office and go to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I'll usually like chill out until 4. And most of the time I'm too beat to like read because reading I can't just read. Like I like to actually read and like study the artwork, and like I have to be more alert to do it. So I usually just put something like really stupid on Netflix or something like that. So that's why it's my own fault why I use reading. I always catch up on my comics on airplanes. That's like the best. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
and I'm broke. I can't afford comics right now.
I know that feeling.
The irony of that being that I'm
Yeah.
comics and I can't afford comics, but
When it comes to writing, you've shown you can write your own creation. What would be the established comic you would like to write for?
oh my gosh.
I think Darkwing Duck's filing cabinet just opened out in the middle of the bridge of St. Canard. Holy crap.
Yeah. You know what the thing is that I really like, because I've done some license work before and I love it. It's super fun. And I did a story for Marvel last summer, and that was awesome. I think if I could do anything, I would want to do a Superman book or a Superman story. Or oh geez, I mean, that's tough. I think like me and Brian Level could really do a kick-ass Lobo book or like a Ghost Rider kind of book. That would be fun. Yeah. I remember when I did the Marvel story for Battle World last summer, and they were like, "Yeah, do you want to do this Marvel story?" And I was like, "Let me think about it." No, I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." Like, and so they're like, "Cool, well, come back with some ideas of what you want to do." And like that alone was almost too overwhelming. Like I almost wanted them to be like, "No, do this Punisher story or do this Hulk story or do this something like just." Because when you give the free reign like that to someone like me, it's like, well, I want to do them all of them. Yes, all of them. So
well, and that included so many different characters is the thing.
yeah, totally. You can do whatever you want and like put them against each other. Like it was just wild. And so that was super fun and really overwhelming and exciting and scary, but super cool. Yeah, it was a blast.
So you're saying that you worked for Marvel's The Secret Wars. Sorry. What was the biggest difference writing for Marvel and then writing independently?
You know what? The thing that I've noticed, and maybe it's just that I've been fortunate enough to work with the people I've worked on the projects that I've done, but I've never really had a case of not being able to approach licensed work in the same way that I approach creator-owned work. Like Sons of Anarchy is a great example that I always go to when I'm talking about stuff like this. And like I did 2 volumes of Sons of Anarchy, and not once did I ever feel like it wasn't my story, if that makes sense. Like it still felt as organic and driven and passionate than something like Dave or Kennel Block or Hot Damn. So I mean, maybe I've just been fortunate enough to have those experiences, but I've never felt stifled, or I've never felt that I wasn't, a key ingredient in making the story what it was. So pretty good place to be, I guess.
Well, you read my mind because my next question is going to be about Sons of Anarchy. Because I'm just barely starting to. I'm a little late. I'm just barely starting to watch the show.
Right? Yeah. Oh, you're in
I'm
for
like,
it.
did you meet any of the cast or crew from the show, and what creative license did you have with it?
I have not met any of the cast or crew. I did a con, my local con a couple of years ago, or maybe it was a year ago, last year, and I know like 3 or 4 of them were in town, and I just never got a chance to to meet them. I was super jazzed too. Like I was gonna get them to sign one of my issues or something.
Oh.
So yeah, I have not met anyone from the show. Although Ron Perlman, who plays one of the main characters on the show,
Yeah.
he put the comic up on his Facebook, which is pretty neat. Because for a while there, I'm gonna stop because that's spoilers. But but he was not in the comics for a little while, for one reason or another. And then I made one of the issues focused on him, and he got jazzed about it, so he put it on his Facebook, and it was pretty cool. As far as creative license,
yeah,
it was wild. It was like, I mean, the editors I work with are so great. Daphne and Mary, like the best editors you could want to work with, and they were just super like go wild. Like, what's the story you want to tell? I was actually surprised at first because when they asked me to pitch on it, and I pitched them a few ideas, there was no like this has to happen and this has to happen, or you can't do this, can't do this. It was very much like, no, just go think of the stories and then come tell us the stories. So I mean, obviously to take into consideration, like continuity and you have to be true to the characters and true to the the mythos that the show's established. But I mean, it was really that kind of open sandbox thing, and if anything, I was kind of playing it safe at first. I mean, and I don't mean the finished product. I mean, like when I first started working on it, I was playing it a little bit safe to the point where, the people that work on the show were like, no, dude, you can keep pushing this. Like, you can go way harder like on this aspect, or so it was really it was like a dream. It was like being able to play in this like really bizarre, crazy, violent, heartfelt sandbox that I could do whatever I want. And I'm super proud of both the story arcs I did. I got to create characters that like were super fun, and it was just awesome.
So you were a fan of the show, I take it.
Yeah. I had I watched the show since it started, and I started working on it when the last season of the show just started airing, and that's when I started working on the book. And so for that however many weeks and months, it was just like my head was just I might as well have gone out and bought a motorcycle or something like that.
Because I watched the Stephen King episode and I was hooked. I'm like, I gotta go back and watch this. So who was your favorite and least favorite character to write about?
On Sons?
Yeah.
Oh geez, I didn't have any least favorites. Most favorite, I really liked writing Chibs.
Of course.
He doesn't show up a lot, but I liked writing Chibs because my family's Scottish, and so I felt kind of a connection to him. I also really loved our second story arc, which kind of had a B plot that was all Opie, and he was like, he's a huge fan favorite, stuff like that. I think least favorite character is also my most favorite character in the one I came up with, who is Bobby's nephew. His name is Dylan, and that's in the first arc I write, and he's just like he's just the worst. He's the worst kid like you could imagine. So he was the worst in that sense, but I also loved it because it was super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about. Well, you said you've done lettering. You did it for Loki, the Ragnarok and Roll, which is awesome. I love that book.
I did do that. Yeah, great.
So, you've done writing. So, any chances of doing art for a comic? Because you just said you've done some art in the past. So.
No, I am the worst artist. I cannot draw at all. My visually creative skills are limited to lettering and graphic design. I cannot draw. I can barely draw a stick man. So yeah, that's not.
Oh, so you're the one making all those Bill memes on Facebook.
Yeah, man. That's keeps my power going at night. Is how much I'm getting paid to do those memes now. Yeah, no one wants to see a comic. I don't think anyone could even read a comic if I drew it. It would just be
oh, come on now.
Terrible.
All right, let's talk about Dave 1 and 2. When did the idea for the series first for both arcs? Did you come up with that?
When I was young, I got out of animation school and I couldn't find a job in animation because this city doesn't really have or at the time at least, it didn't have a very booming animation presence. So I took a corporate job that was terrible, and I was the only graphic designer in this job, in this head office for this big company, and I was the youngest one by like 20 years. And,
oh my god!
Yeah, I was like 21 at the time.
I feel like you were being babysat.
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah, it was horrible. So, I mean, it paid really well, and it was like white shirt and tie kind of thing. And if you ever see me in person, you'll immediately understand that I'm not a white shirt and tie kind of person. But so I did that for a year, and it totally broke me. It ruined me, and it was soul sucking. It was miserable. I used to cry in the parking lot every morning. Like, it was horrible.
So basically, you are Dave.
Yeah, I was Dave for that year, and I actually quit that job and went back to school, but it was horrible. And so fast forward to many years later, when I was at my design job. Now that job was very different. It wasn't soul sucking, and it wasn't terrible at all, and it was totally fine job. It was a good job. It was a great job. But that got me. I started one summer thinking about it. I started thinking about, that previous job that really just messed me up and broke me, and it was a horrible quarter life crisis, if that's even a thing. But so I started thinking about that, and it just kind of fell into place. I just felt like there was a story, in there about, coming to terms with who you're becoming and who you are and who you want to be. And so it just kind of organically fell into place that it became this thing about robots. I'm actually not really sure what sparked that jump from that concept of a quarter life crisis into this robot kind of civilization. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, it just happened from there. And yeah, Valentine joined me and we did it.
What about the second arc? Because I mean, I like I said, if anyone has or has not listened to episode 127 yet, when we were reviewing the second arc, I kept saying I wasn't sure where. Like after the first arc is essentially a setup of, without spoiling it for anybody, it's an alien invasion story for the most part, and on its face, outside of the corporate hell that Dave goes through. But I wasn't sure where you were going to take it for the second arc. So the second arc story is more of a life after being invaded and having, basically having your past actions come back on you, because humans come back,
right?
Come back to the future. So where did the second arc story really come from? How did you come up with that?
Yeah, well, we hadn't really planned to do a second volume at all. Like we'd always maintained it's like, yeah, it's a finite story and it ended how we wanted it to end. And I mean, but at the same time, we always wanted to do it, right? Like we just didn't think we could do it. So right. IDW it was when we were putting the fourth or fifth issue of the print run to press, and it came up. IDW asked if it's something we wanted to do, and we were like, oh hell yeah, like absolutely. So, and I had kind of made notes before that. It's not like we were kind of like, oh, where do we go, what do we do, and like, we got to think of something fast. Like I had always kind of kept this kind of like little secret file on my computer where I typed down notes on like, well, if we ever do Dave 2, like here's what it could be. So I had a good idea in my head of where we wanted to go. I knew that the first volume was kind of this exploration of figuring out who he is, and that in Dave's case, it's not a good thing. I think that you a lot of these similar stories, they always kind of they come out of it feeling good and feeling, like, hey, I'm all right. I came out of this all right. That's who I am. I know who I really am. But I'm like, what if you're an asshole? Because let's face it, Dave's not he's a jerk, like, and he comes to terms with that. And I think it's interesting too when people always say like, oh, Dave's got this nagging wife, and I always have to correct them. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Dave's a jerk. Dave's a bad husband, right? So if Dave 1's about him kind of figuring out who he is and trying to make that work in the world, Dave 2 is kind of like, it's how do you atone for that? Because I mean, it's not enough to just acknowledge that you were a jerk. You have to kind of atone for that. You have to make things better, make things okay. So Dave 2's really, it takes that literally, where, because you get this is his history, his past is coming back. He's got to face the music for the things that he's done. In the same breath, I wanted to branch out and really explore the concept of, well, not the concept, but the actuality of toxic masculinity. Dave 2 is very much, it's just as much a story of kind of deconstructing toxic masculinity as it is about Dave. And you see that in Scotty's big arc in Dave 2, and you see that in Sally's new boyfriend, and you even see that in Dave himself, and just how this world operates. It's it was really interesting and something I kind of wanted to touch on, especially since the book is so rife with like pop culture things, and I think that's a huge part of our pop culture right now is this toxicity, and I think we did a really good job, with that, and I've even got a love story out of it too, which is something that I wanted to include this time. So yeah, that's kind of where there's a lot more going on in Dave 2 than I think at the surface it reads. But I think there's a lot of heart in it, and I think people, if they check it out, I think they'll dig it if they look for it.
People, if you're not reading either one of these series, there's something wrong with you. Yeah, shame on you, because you suck. Yeah, these. How did you? Nicole's going to ask you about the book becoming famous here in a second, but I wanted to bring up the language. Yeah. There was, I think it's in, and I don't mean the foul language, people. I mean just the whole language of the story. Right. There's, I think, it's in 2, right, Nicole? What? The Starbucks scene.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're reading this thing as we're going through reviewing it, and you manage to basically break down every piece of what any, Seattle yuppie orders at a Starbucks into the language of the book.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
The barista part was awesome.
I gotta be honest with you too. A huge amount of that is Valentin Ramon, the artist. Mm-hmm. A huge amount of that is his. Like Tarbucks, that's all him. That was not in the script. A lot of the background, references and just the details, all that stuff, all that world building stuff, and the humor. A lot of that is Valentin. He's just amazing, and that's something that I'm really jazzed about for Hot Damn, is that we're going to see that in it's very different than Dave, but we're going to see that same kind of detail and world building that he put into Dave. But yeah, I was a bit worried at first that sometimes especially the Earth Power, which is the company in Dave, their logo is the shell logo, but it's got devil horns
with the little devil horns.
Yeah, I got super worried too that we were gonna oh shit,
get sued by Shell,
and maybe they just haven't seen it. Maybe they will still sue me. But
is Shell even still around? I haven't heard of Shell in a long time.
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah. So a lot of that. Yeah.
No, the barista scene. As soon as I read that, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. I can see the. Oh my
there
God,
was a lot of cool background genius. Valentin did a great job. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's just brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
Don't lose your screw. I love those little sides in the back.
Oh yeah.
I think my other favorite one, I think it's is it issue 3 or 4? I think it's in 4. Or it might be in 3. No, it's in the very beginning of 3 when the reporter comes on. You guys basically nail how journalistic integrity is these days.
Yeah, right.
It's hilarious.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think that the visual language of the book, those examples that you've said, and also the way that these robots think and communicate. I tried to imagine. Okay, well, the robots take over at around 2015. And so they have access to almost every single piece of information that exists outside of human cognizance. So where does that information come from in 2015, 2014? It comes from the internet. So this is a culture who all they know, all they understand about how we as humans communicate with each other is from the internet. So 99% of the internet is absolute garbage, and it's YouTube comments, and it's 4chan, and it's Twitter, tweets, and Tumblr junk. So that informs the way that they think and the way they communicate. So that's why a fair amount of the robots in the world of Dave are just they're crazy. They're real life trolls, internet trolls, basically. It's basically YouTube comments come to life. You know.
Yeah.
And I love that they have no patience for traffic either.
Oh yeah, they get the same. It doesn't matter what species. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I'm not able to literally pick up my car, but that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really have, and I've tried to stop myself, but I just can't. I've really started using JOBSDAMN for the love of WOZ everywhere.
It rolls off the tongue, right?
Yes, it does. Okay, next question.
Oh, so well, Dave was honored as one of the best comics in 2015. When you were writing it, did you think it would be that big?
Oh no, never. I think the thing with being a writer is, and I think it's very common, is that we all have this imposter syndrome where not only do we hate our own work and we think that we're the worst, but we feel like at any moment the figurative rug is going to be pulled out and we're going to be exposed as a fraud. Like they don't know what they're doing. They can't actually write comics, you know, or this is their next bomb. Any minute now, a comic's going to come out and it's going to totally bomb and I'm never going to make a comic again. That's the fear that goes into being a writer. I think that's actually part of the fuel that goes into being a writer. But you know, I'm proud of Dave and I knew it was good. And I think it's good but at the same time, there's so much of me in there. Like, there's really a lot of personal, almost biographical stuff in Dave, and a lot of emotion. It's a lot of my guts going under the scripts. So, you know, there's less focus on wondering about what people think. You know, as it's more, you know, thinking about. Just the process that went into it. So, yeah, I don't ever think anyone's going to ever like my work. So, but it's been cool. People seem to dig it, and I think Dave's a really interesting book in that if sometimes I see people don't dig it, and I see the reasons.
They're crazy.
Well, I see the reasons why they don't dig it, and I'm kind of like, okay, I understand that. You know, it's not for you, and it's a little bit different, and I think that there's certain eyes that kind of don't understand or don't relate to it. You know, I think that's something that we wanted to do the most is make a really relatable human story that comes from, you know, someone who's wildly has anxiety and depression and you know, self-deprecating thoughts and, you know, all that kind of wonderful stuff that you think you grow out of during adolescence, but you don't. So it's really interesting. I would love to be someone who has an awesome, happy life and hates Dave. You know, it must be nice in your ivory tower where you don't cry in the shower. Hey, that rhymed too.
Got a regular wheelie over here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. You've kind of already answered this, but out of all the characters in Dave, which do you say you relate to the most? Obviously, we already know that now.
Please say Chad. Say Chad.
Oh no.
No.
He's gross.
I
Honestly,
love Chad.
it's split between Dave and Scotty. I think there's very strong elements of Dave and me. I think outwardly and obviously it's Dave, but there is some major Scotty in me, or major me and Scotty. Take that from that whatever you want. It's maybe not the best thing to say on a podcast, but
Oh no, that's awesome. I thought Scotty was fun.
yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Talk about a double entendre.
So can we expect a Dave 3 anytime soon?
I can't. I'm not working on Dave 3 right now. It's something that we've talked about, and I think that's a wait and see. Like, I would love to do it. Yeah. I'm fairly sure Val wants to do it, and I think we're just kind of focusing on Hot Damn first. but it's come up before, yeah. So I mean, and I've got a story in my head that
Because we've been talking about that, like, where are they gonna go from here? You know?
Yeah, that's the coolest thing about this comic series, people. Like I've already said, if you haven't read it, go out and get it and read it, because this isn't like, a predictable James Cameron movie where you can guess every next step of the way, or this isn't like a predictable explosion Michael Bay movie where you can pretty much predict where the next explosion is going to happen. I never knew where this story was going to take me. I could never see 5 pages ahead. I just couldn't. So at the end of episode 127, we're like, what could they possibly do now? We can't even speculate because we don't even. It's not even.
Well, thank you. I will tell you, I had a draft, an earlier draft, and I don't know if Dave 3 ever comes out. I don't know if it'll actually be in there. Maybe I've just spoiled it. Maybe if Dave 3 ever comes out, maybe it won't be in there at all. But I had this idea of making a literal butthorn, like, as some like holy grail, like Dave goes on like the robot equivalent of like a spirit.
Indiana Jones.
No, he just wants to find the meaning of robot life, and he finds this like crazy butthorn that's like the spear of destiny or something like that, and like then he start a new religion of like butthorn followers. I don't know.
Why am I envisioning Dave and Sir Mix-a-Lot in a team up? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, you and Valentine are a great working team. You have Hot Damn coming out.
Yeah.
Do you guys plan on working together again after Hot Damn?
I would love to. Yeah. I mean, we've very loosely talked about Dave 3 after Hot Damn. And I mean, it would be up to Val, because I would work with him on every single book I ever made until I die. So he's just that good, and I think he and it's like we just think the exact same, and he's just amazing. Like, he's a genius. And like, yeah, he just sent me Hot Damn pages this morning, and it's just like, these are mind blowing. They're perfect. And
nice.
I think we both work to each other's sensibilities and the things we want to do and the way we want to tell stories, and yeah, he's amazing, and I'm surprised he's not like the most famous artist in the planet right now.
Oh,
he's just so great.
His art is great. How did you two meet, by the way?
Oh, we met on the internet. Yeah.
Ah.
It was a Craigslist
Tinder,
ad.
huh?
No, oh my god.
Yeah, it was a Craigslist ad, and no, I'm just kidding. It was at the time when I was years ago, and this was probably 2012, maybe late 2011. And I just put a message out onto the internet, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm looking for an artist for this thing," and he was one of the first cats that emailed me back, and I was just like, "Cool, man, do you like this?" And he was like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then he actually did a sketch, a character sketch, which actually became the cover of the first. The character is just the isolated character on the first issue.
Oh, with Dave with his cup of coffee.
With the cup of coffee. That's literally his first character sketch of of Dave, and
so cool.
Yeah, it's insane. And so I knew from that moment, I was like, oh boy, yeah, here we go.
He puts so much expression into Dave being like a one-eyed creature, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, oh yeah, totally. It's so bizarre. Like he just gets these like performances out of them, and like for a book that has the first volume has no humans, and I mean,
well, it shows humans, but it has no humans in the story. It shows how the robots rose up and defeated the humans, but
flashback.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just incredible, and I love his sense of design. Like, all the characters, Dave himself and all the characters, there was never a part in the script where I was like, and this guy's got, 4 eyeballs, and this gal's got, an extra arm or something. That's all Val. Like, that's all him. All the design stuff is right from his brain. So I mean, he's just amazing.
in the second arc, there's I think it's either, again, the third or the fourth issue. I can't remember. I actually pointed this out in episode 127 where I said, "Hey, Brad's glasses, Brad's 3D's glasses have screwed up. I was wondering if that was an error or not, because when he's looking at Dave and Scotty, he's got Dave in the red eye and Scotty in the blue, and then the panel changes to actually look at Brad, and it's switched where the red is the right and the blue is the left. And I was like, wait, is that a mistake or was that intentional? I don't even know. And I'm not complaining about it at all. I was just kind of wondering about that. But no, I mean, Dave is great, people. You really need to read this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's so cool. All right,
and thank you for all the Terminator references.
Yes.
Oh, hey, I remember.
Go with them if you want to live.
Yeah, I remember when I was in elementary school. I was probably the third grade. Actually, maybe fourth or fifth grade when Terminator 2 came out, and I had this neighbor whose family just moved next door from China, and they had They had a kick-ass Laserdisc collection, and yeah, and like I went over to the little homeboy's house, and I looked through his Laserdiscs, and he had T2, and I was like, oh my god, this is insane! Like, because I don't know if my parents at that point let me watch T2, and literally every day after school for like a month. I finished school, I go to his house, and we watch T2 on Laserdisc, and it was the best. It was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, big Terminator fan. I like Terminator.
Yeah, this is gonna shock everyone, but I've remedied the problem here. Coming up, actually probably after this, probably be after this releases next week. We're gonna be releasing our Terminator episode on Movie Week in Review, and this is the first time.
All right.
Because I was a little too young. I was 4 years old when the first film came out, so I've managed in my 35 years to never have seen the first film. I saw T2.
Wow, really? Oh,
Yeah. So I saw T2, and I know all the references from the first movie because it's pop culture. It's it's everywhere.
Yeah, they basically
especially
do all
the
them in
internet.
the T2 as well.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on to your butt, dude. It's gonna get wild.
No, I saw I saw the first one, and I absolutely I did finally see it this week, and I absolutely loved it. And I know the second and the third movie like the back of my hand. I had never seen the fourth movie, Salvation. I wish I had never seen the fourth movie. Oh my God, that movie is just so wrong.
Salvation is way better than the new one, Genesis.
No, Genesis is so much better than Salvation.
Are you serious? Oof.
Yeah, Genesis is an alternate timeline of the first movie. It brings depth.
It's got Jai Courtney, and he's the worst human to ever live.
But Genesis also has Matt.
So what you're saying? So what you're saying, Ryan, is if Dave ever gets a film, Jai Courtney will play Dave.
Oh, you can quote me on that.
Oh boy. Okay, so all right. Let's get to Hot Damn. And for those that did not read the comics, I think it's Comics Alliance. I think that was who first had it. Yeah. Give us the rundown on what Hot Damn is going to be and how you guys came up with that idea.
All right, so Hot Damn is it focuses on a young gentleman, not unlike myself. That's where it ends in the age. But his name's Teddy Graham, like the crackers, and yeah, he is a very spoiled kid. He had a big inheritance, and he lived very fast, and he died young. And he was out of control. So, partying and being generally rotten to a lot of people. And so as such, he goes to hell. So the book takes place entirely in hell. And we realize that hell is this fully realized city. It's not unlike Las Vegas. It's full of dead people and monsters and demons and all sorts of stuff. But what is the real difference is with Hot Damn is that everyone who goes to hell has to go to these daily therapy sessions. And while you're at these therapy sessions, you start talking about all the bad things you've done in your life, and you realize them. So you feel them. You start to feel remorse and guilt and shame and regret and all these things. And the kicker is it makes it hell because you can never do anything about it. You just have to endure feeling like garbage for the stuff you've done for the rest of your life. So this character, Teddy Graham, he kind of can't really cope with this, and he wants to do what he can to make it right. So he's trying to figure out a way to atone for his sins. Now, it sounds a lot like Dave, but it's actually not. It's ridiculous. I can't believe that we're getting to publish this. It's insane. I might be forcibly castrated after they put this book out. But
I don't think so.
Maybe, I don't know. This is one that I'm not going to let my mom read. That's for sure. Yeah, but we really explore. It's one thing that I'm trying to make clear to like readers and stuff like that is that it's not, we're not taking the piss out of religion, and we're not satirizing it. We're just kind of deconstructing it in the, from the vantage point of how we work as a culture and how we behave as a culture, and we're kind of, deconstructing the ideas behind a very basic semblance of what religion is. So we're seeing how heaven operates in a relative way of speaking. We're seeing how hell operates, and we're having a super blast with it. They're both really realized societies in their own, and it almost, the lines blur between our plane of existence and heaven and hell and angels and demons and the afterlife and all sorts of this stuff that goes in there. It's just, it's crazy. It's insane. There's some stuff like Val sent me the pages this morning for the first issue, and like there's stuff I forgot I wrote in there, and I was like, oh man, that's gonna be a problem. but no, it's super fun, and beyond that, it's not a book that we're doing like shock value or it's not like a lot of the promo stuff's had like party imagery and stuff like that. It's got a lot of heart in it, and it's got some really important meaningful themes that we're kind of touching on, and it's just really exciting. I'm super fun with it. I think the second issue is one of my favorite scripts that I've ever written, and it's really interesting, and I'm learning a lot, diving in and working on it, and Valentin's having a blast. So yeah, we're pretty jazzed about it.
Awesome. All right, well, I think that's going to do it. Would you like to inform the people where they can interact with you online?
Yeah, the best place to get at me is Twitter. My Twitter handle is Ryan Writer, one word, RyanWriter. Is that right?
Yes.
The irony of that being that I'm a writer and I just had to think how to spell the word writer. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me. That's where I'm active. I don't do like Facebook and stuff like that.
All right. We would like to thank Mr. Ferrier for taking time to chat with us in this latest interview here inside the Pullbag on the Geekcast Radio Network. We'll ask you to hold the line, and we'll be back after this.
Hey, this is Ryan Ferrier, writer of IDW's Dave 2 and the upcoming Hot Damn. You are listening to The Pullbag.
All right, folks, that's going to do it. That's the interview with Ryan Ferrier. Oh, my God.
He is so awesome. Can I just say that? He is so much fun. I'm so glad that we got to talk to him. So
yeah. It's well, between the time you guys have heard the interview and the time we're recording this closing here, it's been a few days since we actually talked to him, and the book he mentioned, Kennel Block Blues, has actually come out, and oh my God, it's awesome!
I haven't got a chance to read it yet.
Oh my God, it is so cool. You ever watch that Fox show Prison Break?
I watched the first season. Mm-hmm.
But you know what the show is generally, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay. Imagine that, except it's all animals.
Cool. No, when he was talking about it, it sounded really fun. It sounded like
fun. It is really fun. It's super fun. So, all right, folks, like I said, that's going to do it for this interview. Coming up next, we got Turtles and all that stuff, and then Nicole will be back for Fiendship is Friendship February, where we're doing, what was it, 4, 5, 6? I don't even know at this point. 6 different shows about the My Little Pony comics. Yay!
You're gonna love it. Don't act like you don't like it. You know you do.
Such a girl's thing.
No, it's not. And you know that.
Oh, crap. Alright, folks. We're going to get out of here. Make your great escape into comics. We will catch you next time.
Aloha!
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullback, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.